White Christmas on 4K Blu-ray. I grew up with this movie and I didn't always understand it, but the more I watch it, the better it gets, and this 4K is incredible. I'm just going to say this right off the bat, this is one of the best 4Ks that I've ever seen. It made me feel like I was like in the editing room as they were making the movie. Look at that. I got literal goosebumps during this opening scene. Right here, as it's just showing all the different soldiers listening to the song, and just looking at Bing Crosby's incredible looking blue eyes. Look at this, you can see the film grain over everything, so you know they didn't scrub the detail out, and just look at that detail. It's like a time machine back to 1954. There's so many scenes where his eyes are like glowing off the screen. The blue is so vivid, it's awesome. So like I said, I didn't really understand this movie when I was younger, and I was made to watch this movie a lot when I was younger, which I appreciate now. And I got to share in the festivities on Thanksgiving and make my kids sit down and watch this to get cultured. My two little daughters ended up loving it. But what I mean is I didn't understand this movie. I didn't understand the point of, like, I got the love story. I didn't get why the general and why they were doing this thing for him and why this person who owns a hotel needs all this stuff done for him. So I just didn't get it. Maybe it was because I was so young. But after being in the military, I get scenes like this that I'm going to show you right here. But also, just after being a little bit older, I just get that you see this general in the opening scene, that he loves his men and he serves them. And then later, when they see him like down and out, they want to do something for him. Meanwhile, while there's a love story going on with a stuffy, serious couple and a fun young couple. And I love this movie, and I love it more every time I see it. So I just want to go through and just talk about some of my favorite parts in here. But one of the things I like about the dialogue is that it's so snappy and so quick, and it doesn't spoon feed anything to you. Like right here.
That sergeant will be a private in the morning.
Yes, isn't he lucky?
So they're talking about how they just took the general on a long detour, and that driver's going to get demoted. And then he says, isn't he going to be lucky? And it's like, yeah, as I get higher in rank in the military, it's like, yeah, I guess it would be like a lucky one to be a lower rank and to kind of get out of the responsibility. I love this.
Yeah, well, that's all right, Captain. I wouldn't want you to feel any special obligation in any way.
Oh, well.
So he saved his life, and he hurt his arm in the process. And I love that he just manipulates him throughout this entire movie to just do what he wants him to do, because he just like pats on his arm. He's like, remember, I saved your life and I hurt myself doing it. So I just love that it starts this early in the movie. It's like 11 minutes in, and then just count how many times he does that throughout the movie. I love it. So this movie has so many layers, right? Like, it's silly that they're doing this, but at the same time, like, this is like brotherly love, because this guy, he won't, it's almost like he won't go out and find his own happiness if this guy's not helping him. And like the two sisters, the Haynes sisters we meet later, it's kind of the same thing. The one sister, she needs to be guided to happiness. And so these two couples are such a perfect complement to each other in this movie. I also love just like the old schoolness of this movie. Like Danny Kaye sitting here talking to Bing Crosby about how he's missing the one important thing in his life that matters the most, a girl. And then he says he's going to get around to it. And I love this line by Danny Kaye, and I think it is so relatable. And I know a lot of people in this boat.
My dear partner, when what's left of you gets around to what's left to be gotten, what's left to be gotten won't be worth getting whatever it is you've got left.
That's a good line, and it's deep. It's like silly and fun and rhymey, but at the same time, it's like, if you waste your time not finding someone, like, you might run out of people. The pool gets smaller. One thing interesting about this 4K is you can really see what's in focus and what's not. Like this shot coming up right here. So she's in focus, and he's totally not in focus. I don't know if you can tell from here. But I'm not saying that affects the quality of the 4K. It's just, again, like a time... The 4K restoration of this is so good and so clear that you're watching like a time capsule into this movie, and I loved it. It was so amazing. Like this is really one of the best 4Ks that I've ever seen. It's a super clean restoration. The film grain appears to be completely intact, and just the colors look so natural and so vibrant. It just looks like I would feel like I'm sitting in a theater in 1954. Speaking of 1954 is loaded with some of my favorite movies. But really quick note on the restoration of this. There is a podcast that you must go watch about the restoration of this. It is the Perf Damage podcast. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch their episode about the restoration of this. It will make you buy this 4K. So I was saying that the dialogue in this movie is so good and so snappy, and you have to hang on and ride with it, because it's not just going to spoon feed it to you. Like, if you compare this dialogue to a movie nowadays, like, you'd feel like you're just like playing with SpaghettiOs watching a movie nowadays compared to this dialogue. Like, this example right here is just what this whole movie is about. It's just so much fun to watch. So they're helping them out of a jam, a legal jam, and she doesn't want to be in any trouble, right? And they hardly don't know each other. And also, he said that he wants 45 minutes to himself because he wants his friend to have 9 kids and spend 5 minutes a day with each of them, so that he can spend 45 minutes alone, because he feels like he has to take care of them. So with all of that back knowledge, listen to this snappy bit of dialogue here.
Wallace already.
Will you stop worrying about Mr. Wallace? We like to take care of our friends.
We're practically strangers.
Well, we'd like to take care of that too.
Well, but you might get yourself in an awful jam. Why should you? I mean, what's in it for you?
45 minutes, all to myself. Now, come on, would you hurry?
Look at her face. It's perfect. It's just so perfect. And like I said earlier, I just love watching how the two sisters take care of each other, and I'd say two brothers, they're not brothers, but how they take care of each other and how their relationships start to blossom. It's all very swoony. So this is where this movie really gets into the Christmas spirit, like I said, where these guys want to do something nice for the general, who is now retired and basically running a ill-fated resort, right? And he served them in the war, and now they want to serve him here. What I used to get hung up on as before, when I was a lot younger watching this, was, why are they helping this guy? He owns a resort. Like, he doesn't need help. Like, what is this, like, first world problems? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what his problems are. What matters is that he served them during the war, and they're going to serve him now. And again, here's another example of the dialogue not spoon feeding you, because as you listen to what Bing says as he looks over at the general, is he's talking about how the general was the kind of leader who would eat last. He would sleep last. And if you didn't know that, you would just miss this dialogue. But I love that this dialogue is, like, you can tell he's, like, really, really thinking about it. And he's bringing up again that he served them. And you can tell the wheels in his head are just turning, like he wants to help him out. But I love what he says, though.
Comes between me and my man.
So he sees him over here with the menus.
We ate and then he ate. We slept and then he slept.
Yeah, then he woke up and...
Right? So he turns it into a little bit of a joke, but he's dead serious, and he's trying to think of how to take care of him. I really love it, and it really brings the Christmas spirit in.
From the old man's outfit to fill a town this size, at least enough guys to let him know he's not forgotten.
And
Don't
that's
you
the
think
point right
show
there.
on will do it? Well, if you'd have seen the...
They want him to know that he's not forgotten after all he did for them in the war. And I think the opening scene is such a perfect setup, where it shows the war, you see him save his life, and you see the general serving them, and then also you get to see some, like, cool explosions, but it's such a perfect setup for the rest of this movie. I want you to watch this exchange right here and just completely take it out of context.
You ought to consider yourself plenty lucky. You might have been stuck with this Weirdsmobile for life.
Oh, Judy!
Weirdsmobile. That is a winning way to talk to somebody. And she puts her face in her hands and runs off. It's like the perfect out of context clip. All right, and this movie does have one of the frustrating things that a lot of modern chick flicks have, which is there's a misunderstanding and there's a breakup montage, and then they've got to get back together, right? So the one girl goes back to New York because she thinks they're going to take advantage of this guy, and then they got to get back together. So there's like that little frustrating bit where you're like, no, if you would just stop and listen and communicate with each other, you would get along. So that's like my most frustrating part of all chick flicks, is the misunderstanding breakup montage what this movie has. But this part right here, boop, is the general basically receiving the gift of all of these old wartime buddies showing up to let him know he's not forgotten. And I think his face really sells the whole thing, and it kind of ties the whole movie together. Check it out. Look at his face. Once all the guys start coming out, all right, so we got it all tied together with the general, and we got to tie it all up with both of these couples. And speaking of this movie just being so well made, and just like you have to just go along for the ride, and it's not going to spoon feed it to you, like this little gift that she gives him that he opens up behind the tree, like this is from conversations that they've been having throughout the movie, and he sees it, and you look right in his eyes, and you know exactly what this gift means when he opens it up.
Who's that? Santa Claus. Welcome to the family, Buster.
Look at this relatives already.
Wallace and Davis are fine. Wait a minute, I'll join you.
There we go. You got both couples together. You got the general taken care of. And this really is one of the greatest Christmas movies. This is one of the greatest 4Ks, the greatest Christmas movies. And honestly, it's a good chick flick, musical, drama, and it's just all around great. If you haven't seen it, you've been watching this, spoiler alert, but it's awesome. Let me know what you think. I think this movie on 4K is what 4K is all about. It's absolutely jaw-dropping. So anyway, this has been my review of White Christmas on 4K. My two little girls absolutely loved it. They were a little confused why, like during the breakup montage, while there was some crying, they didn't quite get it, but they loved it. Anyway, let me know what you think, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.